Hi, friend. This just in. Sarah Boone, otherwise known as Suitcase Sarah, has just been sentenced to life in prison, which in the state of Florida means life without parole. Let's talk about it.
Court pronounces sentence as follows. Ms. Boone, court sentences you to life.
So, why are we talking about this, friend? We're talking about it because the Sarah Boone case has been close to my heart, and it effectively shows something that is one of my core beliefs and that I would like to talk about is by not taking responsibility and placing the blame on everybody else, by not taking accountability, that makes you guilty. So the TLDR, Sarah Boone in 2020 was having a good day with her partner Jorge Torres, and she called him George Torres. His family also at times referred to him as George Torres, but he preferred, to my understanding, Jorge Torres. And they were having a good day. They were drinking wine, got really drunk together, and they decided to play hide and seek. Jorge got into her suitcase and he was hiding. She came downstairs looking for him, saw him in the suitcase, zipped up the suitcase, and after making a video of herself talking to him while he was in the suitcase, mocking him, where you can hear that she is drunk.
For everything you've done to me. For everything you've done to me.
Basically, she left him downstairs, went to her bed, fell asleep, woke up the next morning at around 11 o'clock, and she only called 911 at around 1 o'clock, and she has officially been found guilty. There's a lot more to this case. I will refer you to the Court TV channel, where I actually watched the whole court case and all the hearings, or to Boze. She did really great videos. I will link it down below. But Sarah Boone is a perpetual victim. And very much so, she claimed in the end that she suffered from battered spouse syndrome. Something about me and something I do not often talk about. I was a victim of domestic abuse. And the way Sarah spoke today in her sentencing hearing, that shook me.
And overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media.
It really shook me because she spoke about how bad of a person Jorge was, and yet all of the evidence that we saw was her being terrible. There is a history of domestic violence, and they've both been arrested at times, and broken people break people. These were broken people that came together and chaos ensued, and somebody ended up losing their life. And so while Sarah was talking, there was no emotion on her face as she blamed the court system. She had gone through like 8 attorneys before the judge said no more. You either get your own attorney or you have to go pro se. She went pro se and made an advertisement, and she got her attorney that represented her through the case. And so the thing is, Sarah blamed the court, the family, Jorge or George. She blamed everybody except for taking accountability for her side. Someone died. Everything else you said is irrelevant. You cannot bring someone who passed away back. Something very significant that happened during the actual court case, I lost my grandmother, and that made me look at life different, changed my perspective on how I want to live my life, the person I want to be, and it made me realize that life isn't forever. when we lose someone, we can't bring them back. So she was part of the reason that his life was taken. And while his mother is in court, her son is gone. She can never get her son back. Sarah Boone was sitting in court blaming Jorge, the courts, his family, and everybody else for not knowing her. Who she is now, who she was then, is irrelevant. What matters is someone lost their life. And yes, there was reactive abuse. Now let me quickly explain what reactive abuse is and what it looks like as an example. Now, reactive abuse is when somebody that is the actual abuser knows their victim very well, pushes the buttons until that person explodes, reacts out of anger, out of emotion, out of being triggered, and that is fairly triggered. They are fair to feel the way that they do, but they do not see the trap that they're put in, and so they react emotionally and they react strong because the abuser hit them where it hurt most. And so then it explodes. Throughout the stories that was shared, both of them had substance abuse issues, and they both had pasts that was filled with pain. But hurt people unless those hurt people get help. And the fact of the matter is, she spoke about how he threw her into a wall and she had bumps on her head. I was thrown into a wall and my head burst open. I had post-concussion syndrome. I still have migraines that are affected by that injury to this day. Now, in sharing that, I want to share that this case and so many other cases are triggers for people who have experienced abuse. And then to watch people that cause so much pain to play the victim, the abuser to play the victim. We as a society need to learn how to see that for when it happens. We need to know why this happens, or identify it the moment it appears. And Judge Krennic, he did. That was top tier magic happening. It was like, okay, Jorge's family gave their statements, which were beautiful and powerful. And something that stood out about it was Jorge's sister telling how the simple act of closing a suitcase is hard for her. She always leaves a gap now. And there, on the opposite side of this, when Sarah's people were speaking for about 2 hours, was when the doctor that worked with Sarah throughout the trial and was actually quite a bad witness for the defense. I would reference again, go watch the trial on Court TV if you want to see that. She came up and spoke about how Sarah's past might have affected her. And the funny thing in the chat, and shout out to everybody that was in the chat, if you see this, this video is dedicated to Court TV and to all the wonderful people in the chat. People were saying, hey, but so many of us have PTSD. So many of us have suffered the same kinds of traumas, if not worse, and yet we have not caused the death of someone. And Sarah showed this utter lack of empathy, but yet here was this doctor, this psychiatrist or psychologist, I'm not 100% sure. She was now saying, yes, but she experienced this trauma and therefore there's mitigating circumstances. Yes, but unless Sarah admits this, unless she realizes that her trauma caused her to act the way that she did. And until she stops blaming others, that's irrelevant. And so then when Sarah got on the stand and she spoke for a really long time, she read this letter and she blamed everybody, and then she said she was sorry, but literally no emotion on her face. It was like her face didn't even change from one sentence to the next. And there was this undertone of passive-aggressive anger that she just wasn't, like, articulating. Like, I'm angry. But she says, like, it's unfair. The court did this to me. This happened to me. Me. And then she was like, yes, but I really loved George and his family, and you all just don't know who I am. We don't care who you are, Sarah. We care that a life was lost. And no person is worth no person should ever experience that type of death. I'm asthmatic, so I know what it feels like when I can't breathe. I know what it feels like when you're restricted in your breathing and it feels like your chest is pressing in and up. I used to call it feeling up when I was a kid. Now imagine you're in a suitcase yelling, Sarah, Sarah, babe, I can't breathe, let me out. Using your last bit of air to desperately try and get yourself out of that situation. Until you can no longer breathe. Until there's nothing left. I don't think Sarah will ever realize how her actions affect his family. I don't think Sarah will ever realize how her words affect other victims of domestic violence. However, I do want to say to everyone that felt affected, as I am, I feel like I don't really know how to put the words together about how I feel about this. I'm like, I have to talk about it, but I can't put my own feelings to words. So for everyone else, know that you're worth more than how your abuser made you feel. You're worth more than staying stuck in your own mind. Even if you got out, it is so easy to get stuck in fear. You are worth better. You do not deserve to be stuck in the cycles of abuse. It's not just one cycle, it's cycles that can repeat until one day you stand up and say no more. And I don't think it is easy to ever move on from that and to heal. And I wish from the bottom of my heart that Sarah will learn that she played a part in this and to really, really take accountability, because the core message in all of this, the lack of Sarah giving accountability, showing accountability, led to that moment where the judge in less than 10 seconds said, I sentence you to life. And in Florida, that means no parole. Had Sarah shown remorse, had Sarah shown that she realized how her own actions led to the death of Jorge Torres, the judge might have taken a little bit more time. The minimum sentence that she could have got was 22.5 years. With time served would have been, she served 4 years, so it would have been around 16.5 years. It's almost 5 years, so it probably would have been around I can't math. I'm leaving that in for the silliness. It's also very late at night. Yeah, it would have been about 16 years. But she was also offered a plea deal. This is the funny part to me as well, just before I get into the main message of this. She was offered a plea deal of 15 years if she admitted to what she had done. If she admitted that she played a part in the death of George Torres and pled to manslaughter. And so, the thing in life is, if we learn to take accountability for our mistakes, and if we learn the right way to apologize, I'm sorry for doing this, and understanding the impact of it and being able to verbalize the impact that it had Sarah Boone said to Jorge Torres' family, to his mother, I am sorry that I did not open that suitcase when I realized he might not be able to breathe, and that I took your son from you, and that my actions led to his death, and you now being without a son, being without a father, being without a brother. Nothing I can do will take it back, and I'm sorry. I deserve my punishment, and I will take it, because I played a role in him not being here today to support you in your lives and be there, be part of your lives. That was what was needed. And in not doing so, and being so adamant that she is the victim, that it is the court, that it is the justice system, that it is the judge, the family, everybody hates her, everybody's against her. Social media made a mockery of her, and the normal media, like the big conglomerate media out there, is all complacent in her not having a fair trial. No, Sarah. You were there. You were one of only 2 people there that night. You took the incriminating video that got you to where you are. You gave your phone, and you drank the alcohol. So often in life, our choices define who we are, where we end up. If we can take accountability for our mistakes, we can change our stars. So, this is my message. If you are in a place where you feel like you are stuck, you are a victim, if you feel like there's no way out, start by looking inwards and not blaming yourself, but finding the parts where you had a role, that you did something wrong. Take accountability, even if that's just to yourself. Because when you start there, you can start changing your stars. You can start changing your destiny. You can start by not feeling sorry, but being better. Changing from that point on. Because true accountability will set you free.